Hello, thank you for joining. Today we have a special treat for you. A lot of you out there needing to stay at home, and this might even be the first time you're thinking about studying from home. So today's topic is just that, how to study the TOEFL from your home. Some of you who have always done this might also find some tips and tricks. You might think that you're using your time effectively, but look through this, watch this video, and let's see if there's some things you can improve. Here we go. Now, like I said, the topic is how to study for the TOEFL at home. Before we get to that, a little about me. I'm Katie. I studied linguistics and education at university, and I've been working since then, 8 years, teaching ESL to adults in a few different countries. So started in Australia, where I'm from. Some of you maybe have been interested in my accent, trying to pick it, and so now you know. And yes, after that, I also worked in Thailand and now in Colombia. I teach all the TOEFL sections, and we're going to talk about all of them today. So lucky, I am familiar with all of these. And the hobby I'm going to share this week is that right now I'm trying to learn some new recipes, even trying to compete in some challenges with my family and my friends around the world. We're seeing who can complete and who can make the most delicious and the most beautiful recipes from home. Now let's get into it. Today, hopefully, you're going to learn how people find other people to study with, how to study with books, how to schedule your studies, how to find a TOEFL expert, create long-term study plan, and how to improve your score over time. You don't need anything as you're listening to this. Just listen up. And if anything today you feel like was such a great idea, you want even more of it, then meet with me. We still have our special deal for the rest of this month, so be sure to take advantage. Ines is one of my former students. Didn't need to be a student for very long because she joined our group class, and after 7 classes, she hadn't even finished the group class yet. She was able to get the score that she needed, even higher. She got a 29, and it was incredible because the first few classes, she really didn't think she was going to be ready for a few months. But with the right advice and good amount and the good way of studying, she was able to get there. And you might think, oh, well, just some people are talented, but it's really about the hard work. She came back after she got that score and joined us in the final class, and she said, look, everyone, Katie's right. Make sure you do all the stuff she gave you for homework. And that was a really good motivation for the rest of the class. Let's start now. First question for all of you out there. You're watching my video now. What are you thinking to do after? Are you going to find another video about TOEFL and watch and watch and watch all day? Binge is the new word for that, where you just can't stop and you keep watching and watching and then you lose the day. Or are you going to watch this video again and take some notes? Or are you going to try and apply that information to a TOEFL question? Looking at these three, hopefully most of you will realize that applying is going to actually make a difference with you, with your skills. watching lots of videos. Sure, you're going to have a lot of information in your head, but information is not everything. Information is not having skills. It's all input, it's going in, but what about what's coming out? What about the actual production, the application of these things? So every time you watch a video, try to think of some way you're going to apply that knowledge. You're going to practice. You're going to see if you can actually do it. Don't just think, oh yeah, now I know that. I'm sure I'll do that in the next test. We really need you to think step by step. Okay, this video, I learned this. Now let's actually use it. Taking notes, of course, is great. That can help you to apply it, to use it, but we need all of it together. Watch it, take the notes, apply. Practice tests. A lot of you out there ask me, say, what should I do with the practice test? Maybe you're thinking, well, I'm going to have to do a full test, 3.5 hours. I'm going to have to sit there, focus for that whole time. Maybe I should try to do that while I'm practicing. Complete test situation, practice exactly as it's going to be on the day. That could be an option. We also have some others here. Maybe you do 1 test per day every day before the test. Maybe there's some benefits there. I think I do recommend that to some students. However, I usually recommend it after I know that they have worked on their skills. So actually what I recommend is complete a single reading passage or listening passage or speaking section, 1 question, explain your answers, check your answers. So this is all more for the reading and listening there. Make a plan to avoid making the same mistake again. Okay, so talking about the reading, then you are able to go back, look at the answers, and you're going to say, well, I chose this for this reason, and look at the answer, find what is wrong, and then analyze, okay, well, it's because I didn't know this word. Oh, I know it's because I missed this negative part here, or it might be, you know what, I am not doing so well with this question type. I'm going to need to study some more strategy for this question type. And that is the best way to work on your skills bit by bit. Know where your problem areas are, know what you need to study before you do another passage. Okay, so if we just do test by test and then another test, maybe you are improving some things. You're improving your focus, the fact that you are able to concentrate for 3.5 hours, and that's great. And that is why I sometimes recommend to students to do these things. But I only say that after they have followed my instruction and worked on their skills. And then later I say, okay, you're doing well. Now's time to think about focus. Now's time to get ready for your exam on the weekend. But not straight away. Okay, just doing a test alone, you might just get sick of doing that after a while. So be sure to break things down, work on things step by step. Now let's talk about improving your score. Okay, lots of people love watching videos. You already probably know that's not the answer because that wasn't the answer to the question before. What about videos and practice tests? Bit better there, but as you just learned from the last question, practice tests alone, not the answer. So of course, C is the answer. Please watch videos, do practice tests, also complete score builder activities. These type of activities we've built them so that each day you're focusing on a certain chunk, a certain amount of questions and skills that you can really fix that, and then The next day, you've got a new part, a new chunk. And over time, you will see that your skills are improving, and when skills are improving, your score is building and improving. Okay, the next thing we say here, plan out your studies. We'll talk about that in a bit. In a bit. And monitor your progress, check how you're going, reflect on what you have learned. This is really important because if you're going to stay motivated for a long time, you need to be able to see that you are improving. You need to be able to check yourself and say, oh, good. Last week I was just getting 15 out of these tests, and now I can see I'm getting 20. Great. I'm going to keep going, and I'm not going to give up because I know this is working. Okay, so you're monitoring and you're reflecting, you're checking back. That is going to keep you motivated, and it's going to keep you learning. Okay, that's what teachers usually do for you. We monitor, we say, oh, how's this going? And then we plan accordingly for the next class. So if you're studying at home, you need to think like you're a teacher for yourself. You're your own personal coach, tutor, and you need to be aware of what's best for which day, have a plan for the whole week, so you're able to practice the different skills. I've already touched on this a little bit. Identify your goals. Every student is different. So like I said, sometimes I recommend doing parts of tests. Sometimes I recommend doing full tests. It's because of the different stage that you're in and of the student. But it also might be that the student doesn't have a good amount of time to just break down the things and work on the skills. I've had students who have booked a class with me the day before the test, which of course I don't recommend, but it has happened, and definitely I'm not going to say to them the same thing as I would to a student who books in with me 4 or 5 weeks before the test. So you've got to think about your full situation. You've got to think about, where am I? What time do I have? And what is the best way to make use of it? So if you're in a hurry, maybe you're just going to try do the full test because you want to really get used to focusing for 3.5 hours, and you want to be sure that you're going to be good for that test day. However, if you have taken the test a few times, you know you're a fair way off getting the scores that you need, then what you'll need to do is work on the skills, and that's going to take time. So you're going to do each section by section, and in those sections you break them down. That's why we say just do one passage and then analyze it from the reading. Now let's think about what's the difference between studying in the classroom and studying at home. It's not that the classroom is all bad. It's got some great things about it. For example, you have a community, you've got your classmates there. You are given quizzes. Like I said, that's what teachers do for you. They give you quizzes so you're able to see how you're going because they have quizzed you. There is a certain day, a certain time, a certain place where you're meeting. Everything is very organized. So you're not going to just get distracted and do something else because you know, oh, I have to go to class. In that classroom, you have your experienced TOEFL teacher and you follow a syllabus there. So they're all the great things about the classroom and maybe what you're missing right now, seeing as you're stuck at home, you can't get to your classroom. However, the classroom isn't perfect. It's not personalized, which means you're going to have to hear and learn and see different information that's perhaps for other students there, but you've already learned that. So could be a bit of a waste of time, some of those topics that are covered. There's not so much focus on improvement there. There's pressure to get a grade, and if it's a big class especially, you're not going to be able to speak too much. It's going to be more of that input, like I was saying about the videos, things going in, but what about what's coming back out again? Okay, so that's the classroom there. We want you to get all of those benefits that we just spoke about while you're at home, but none of the drawbacks. So we're going to explain how to do that here. You can create your own community. I know you might be shy and think, oh no, again, a teacher is telling me to make friends to practice English. I know, it's a bit of a cliche, but you don't have to worry if you're shy or not. It's just about trying to find some people in the same situation. You don't need to be best friends with them, just good to feel like you've got someone who's in the same boat, someone who can give you some tips, some ideas that you haven't thought of, and sharing that stress together can take a bit of the weight off your shoulders and you can feel a bit more confident. If they can do it, you can do it. So you don't need to think, okay, I'm going to change my whole personality so I can make friends. No, just try to connect with some others. One great way is with Facebook groups. TST, we have a big Facebook group with thousands of students. So on there you can post, try to find some people there, or if you are a bit too shy, wait for someone to post and comment underneath that, or even send them a private message. I'm sure that people who are struggling like you would be happy to hear that you want to help them and you want them to help you, so you're going to be a team in it. Another way, we do have group classes. So it's possible to study at home, but with a group. Before I told you about Ines, she was in that group class and it was so great. Like I said, she came back after she got that score, after she did that test and said, hey guys, I did well. This is what I tried. This is what worked. You need to do this too. And that was excellent for bringing the class together and getting everyone motivated to study the right way. Outside of the TOEFL world, your friends, your family can be a great support. I often recommend my students to print out a list of open-ended questions that could be for speaking question 1 or writing independent task, and chat with people. Find out what are their opinions, what are their stories, what do they think would be a good way to speak about it, a good way to write about it. I mean, none of us have experienced everything in our lives. It's just not possible. So what we want is to make use of our friends and family and even other people. If they seem friendly enough, then they could be a good resource. And of course, tell them so that they give you space and time for studying as well. So try to develop this community, get help from them, get support from them. You don't need to be in a class, in a classroom to be able to have a community. About the quizzes and tests, I know you want to be able to do these. Well, you can do them yourself. You can find quizzes. There are so many. You can set up your own. I quiz myself every day with Spanish. I have got flashcards. I look at the front. I try to quiz myself. What is the word? I can't think of it. Or what is the definition, depending on which way I've done those flashcards. And I see how many I get right, see how many I've forgotten, and I note that down. So I quiz myself. You can do that too. Try to focus on the skills though. Like we talked about before, doing the whole test is going to be a bit hard to see how things are going. But if you can just say, okay, today I'm going to check how I'm going with vocab. Maybe you'll test yourself on the academic word list. How many new words have I learned from this? Okay, or go specifically for one reading question type. You could look at, let's say, inference questions. They're usually tricky for a lot of students. You can have a bit of a review about what you've learned about those, read some strategies, watch a video on strategy, and then do 10 questions, see how you go. Did you get more questions right than the week before? Books are great. There are so many books about the TOEFL that you can be using. And I mean, of course, the ETS ones are going to be very good because they create the test, but there are also some other books out there. I would say I don't recommend books that are just lists of words. I once had a student show me a book that had 1,000 words that you must learn for the TOEFL, and they were just written in the list, dot points. And I said, okay, what? Not really going to focus on that. I much prefer you to try to learn in context. Trying to memorize lists of hundreds of words is going to be very, very difficult for you to retain all of that. So I recommend books that teach in context. Have a flick through, check those books. If it is just going to be lists, then I don't recommend that. You can just find lists anyway. You don't need to buy a book. So it would be better that those books have instructions, have passages, have enough content that you can be using these things. Online materials. Oh, there is so much. You guys are so lucky that you're studying something like this in today's world. I remember when I was studying French in high school and there was hardly anything. It was hard for us to do much. It was hard for our teachers to find much to do with us. That might be giving away my age, but yeah, we did have the internet. We just didn't have so many things available or knew really how to find them. So search, 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 and make sure you're getting the best stuff. Okay, I found this stuff and I keep it all saved together. I'll show you in a bit what I do with my stuff. And the last thing here, don't feel bad about practicing the same test more than once. I know you might think, oh, but in the test I don't get more than You're going to do a response, you record it, you listen back, then you want to do it again and try to improve it. Okay, you're going to think, oh, I said too many pauses, let me try again, let me see if I can do better this time. Maybe you made a grammar mistake. You're going to say, okay, let me do this again. This time I'm going to say that sentence correctly. If you just try to go for another question, it's going to be pretty difficult to even know that you'd mentioned that same grammatical phrase. So how are you going to fix it? How are you going to work on improving your skills? Okay, in the reading, that's good as well. Not immediately, of course, you probably still have all the answers in your short-term memory, but a week or two, or even 3 weeks later, you can do that same test again, and you can start to see how you've changed in that time. Maybe you've gotten better with a certain type of question. Maybe this time, doing it again, the thing you missed the first time, you see it straight away. Or you just might see that you're able to do it faster. So don't feel bad about repeating. It is excellent. It is what you did well for these speaking questions, but I want you to do them again and make them even better. Or I might say, okay, you've written this essay, I like it, but I want you to improve your vocabulary. I want you to upgrade it to be a bit more formal, a bit more academic. So don't change the essay, don't change the topic, just write this one again and add those things, because then you're just focusing on that one thing you're trying to improve. You're trying to think about, okay, I need a more formal word for this here. What can I use? What can I use? And you're able to put more effort into that. Whereas if you were doing a whole new test, you'd have to divide your attention, divide your effort between what the new topic is, what you're writing about that, and thinking about this new vocab. Okay, so we've got to narrow our focus, and that's going to help us a lot. It is very good to set your study schedule. You might think, oh, it's all right, I'll do it later. I mean, that's one convenience about studying at home, but it usually means that you never get to it. So get your calendar up, lock in what you're doing each day, separate your time between the different sections that you need to focus on, and actually follow it. Make sure your calendar sends you an alarm 5 minutes or 10 minutes, up to you, maybe 30 minutes before that time is starting, and do it. Okay, actually sit down, think about it. I'm in class, this is my practice time, I need to stick to it. Would be good for you on Sunday to set this up. Set up your week, work out, okay, these are the times, these are the dates, and also prepare those materials, what you're going to use each day. So there's not so much time setting up each day, it's already done for you, so you can find it. Pick a place to study with few distractions. I think that right now I'm doing good to keep concentrating on this video. I don't know if you guys can hear the certain sounds and things that are happening outside my window, car alarm, some motorbikes, people. I really wish my window was thicker, was able to block out some of that. I'm sorry if it's been distracting you. I'm trying to keep focused, so please stay focused with me. And hopefully you have a house with some thick windows that you're not too distracted. If not, try to find a space, a place even, where you're able to just focus on what you're doing. I know in the test, if you're actually going to be in the test center, you have distractions. So some of my students say, but teacher, I should be practicing like it is on the test day. And what I'll say again is that you shouldn't do this while you're working on your skills. Wait until you've built your skills. Wait until you've worked step by step through everything. And once you feel really good, because you have improved all the different areas, then you can practice in a distracting situation that's just like the test. Okay, so usually I recommend that to students a few days before they're actually doing their test, then it's time. But before then, as you're working on improving, you don't want to be distracted. Set up a system of rewards and punishment. Okay, so this video, I was thinking about it all day, thinking, okay, I've got to do it, I've got to do it. And then I did think, oh, well, I could do it a bit later. I could do it a bit later. And in the end, what helped me to finally get to do it, I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And once I finish, I'm allowed to call and get dinner delivered. Okay, I am telling myself that is my reward, and that has got me here. I'm doing it now, and it's not as hard as I thought it would be. So same for you. Promise yourself something, or punishment, say you're going to take something away. Okay, I'm not sure what that could be. Maybe you will say, well, because I didn't study enough this week, my punishment is I have to do it on Sunday. Okay, maybe Sunday is usually your day off, but you say, no, this week I don't deserve it. This is a really good tip. It is good to have class, your own personal class, your study in the morning. Okay, studying at night, usually people are pretty tired. Of course, it depends. Some people are night owls, and that is when they're more active. However, it doesn't always mean you're going to study your best. So try to work out for your schedule, for when you're working, when you're sleeping, when is the best time for you, and organize your study times for that time of day. For me, I've worked out that for my Spanish classes, I like to have them at 10 o'clock, and it's been working out really well. I tried it at 2 o'clock, I think 2 weeks ago, and it definitely wasn't as good as when it was at 10. So I'm back to 10 for those and doing very well with it. Find a TOEFL teacher. Well, you know me, you found us, obviously. So at TST Prep, you can obviously find TOEFL teacher. We all really know our stuff. And we are able to provide you speaking and writing feedback, which is so important, unlike the reading and listening section where you can just check and see, okay, yes, I'm right, oh, no, I'm wrong. With the speaking and writing, it can be difficult to monitor yourself and to know that you're improving, to know which things you need to improve. So that's what we specialize. And of course, we're not the only ones. There are English teachers throughout the world, and they're all online at the moment, I think, at least most of them. So you can definitely find some English teachers, even if they're not focused on TOEFL specifically. They're going to be able to help you with the skills you need to do better, especially with writing. They can tell you what's happening. They can say, look, this grammar point, we need to work on it, do some more practice with it. For speaking as well, they're going to be able to tell you what you did. I don't want to mention grammar again, but maybe it could be about a word that you paused for too long, you couldn't think of it. Then that teacher is going to be able to say, oh, I think you needed this word. I think you meant to say this. So that's going to help. You could think about looking for a school, or one other suggestion is italki. On there are so many different teachers. So that would be good for you. Make sure you tell them what you're focusing on, and if they aren't specifically teaching TOEFL, then make sure you tell them, okay, I am required to have this level in this specific area. Okay, some of my students, after they're in the group classes with me, I've taught them so much stuff about TOEFL, but then they just need a lot of practice. So they often sign up with something like italki, or with someone who lives close by to them, and they say to them, look, this is what I learned in my group class, and this is what Katie told me I have to do. So if I'm not doing that, tell me, and don't let me stop until I can do that. So that is a really good way that you can use what you've learned about the TOEFL, and then make sure that teacher is monitoring you in the way that they should be. Create a syllabus. So just because you're at home, just because you're working on your own, doesn't mean you should just do what you feel like each day. Okay, we want to be organized. So first step in that is to work out your test date. You don't actually have to book it, but try to think of a date, think of a certain week that you would like to be doing it in the future. So you can work out, okay, that means I have 3 weeks. So if I'm going to cover all of these sections, I need to have this many hours across that time. So try to at least pick a month that you're going to do the test, so you can plan that out. Okay, do a 1-week test run to see how many hours you can work in the week and to see how it fits in with your schedule. And like we spoke about before, system of rewards and punishments is important there. Not just day by day, but see how you're going with the week, and you can reward yourself. I love weekend rewards. I reward myself for working so hard through the week, for keeping up with all my emails, for keeping up with all my evaluations, keeping up with my homework. And then I say, okay, it's a weekend, let's order pizza. Punishments, I think it's usually for me is taking away things that I normally would have, and I say, oh, no, can't have that. So you might have something else. Everyone works differently for different rewards and punishments, so that's going to be a very personal thing. Now, a lot of you through this video are maybe thinking, but. I know it can be hard. We are all busy. Even if we're stuck at home, maybe not working, there's other things that we're doing. Still, we need to study if we really want this. Okay, just because you are busy does not mean that you are going to get any sort of extra points for that from the ETS. The test is always going to be the test. It's hard and it requires study. So try not to think of too many excuses. Try to think of the positives, what you can do. Try to be creative about fitting things into your schedule. Do your best to start with a little bit and grow and grow and grow with how much time you can study, because in the end, it will be worth it. Keep thinking that. Remind yourself, I want to do this, I need to do this because, and then remind yourself of your goal. What are you doing this for? Are you trying to get into a university? Are you trying to get qualified so you can apply for a different job? Are you, let me think, what is another option? Maybe you can tell me in the comments if you are different to that. So, like I said, I wanted to just show you about being organized and having everything together. So, what I have done to help me so I can keep on top of all of the links out there and what I want to send to students, I've set up a Google document where I have links to all of the things and I have them organized by the different section. So I have some mindset videos here. I have some things for pronunciation and speaking, for typing, for writing, for grammar, for reading, for listening. I have everything there because otherwise, I mean, I'll get a student and maybe I haven't talked about listening for a few days. So I don't want to forget what are the different resources that I could share with them. So I have them here. Same for you. Maybe you haven't studied reading for a few days and you think, well, what's that website where I found those amazing examples? You really should save them. Okay, so please do that so you will feel like you've got everything organized there. And whenever you see something recommended online, save it. Put it on your list, have everything in front of you so you can have your syllabus set up. You can look through here. You can say, okay, well, I know I need to work on speaking. I'm going to spend 3 hours on it a week. So I've got pronunciation to think about. I've got what sort of words to think about. I've got linking to think about. Okay, so let me spend half an hour on this, half an hour on that. So you're really planning things well. If you've got all the resources in front of you, then you're going to make sure you don't miss out on anything. So that is what I recommend. And if you want to know some of these links, if you think, well, that looks like a lot of good stuff that Katie has, I have even more, actually. That is my list of extra links on top of the stuff that we have created ourselves with TST. So if you want to find out more, then remember we have our deal still on offer, and not just for links, but you can ask me these questions. When should you start studying? How long should you study each day? It is such a personal question. Whenever I hear that from a student, I ask, them questions so I'll be able to answer. I say, how many points do we need to gain in each section? What is difficult for you? When is your test coming up? So many things like that. And then I say, okay, well, considering all of that, you need this many hours in this many weeks. So I can't tell you exactly because there are so many different situations out there. Some students need 1 point. And maybe that's not so hard if it's 1 point going from 19 to 20. But 25 to 26, that's a whole other thing. So there is so much information online, and I often tell students, look, maybe that isn't exactly the advice you need for your situation. So if you really want to know what's good for you, what I do a lot in these half-an-hour lessons is tell people, okay, those are your issues, this is your plan. And I send an email with some links and things to help you actually put that plan into action. So I hope that you've got a lot out of this, and good luck with everything. See you next time.